At 24, what you've achieved, what you've done, what's driving you, or what are you running from?
I think for me, it's not being comfortable where I am.
Climate change.
There's a nexus between climate change and almost everything. Climate change and our food security and education. Girls are being married off because of such issues.
Because of the adverse effects of drought, the man of the household sell off the girls.
The parents want cows. So we can no longer ignore the conversation.
1 minute we know you with climate change. Next thing, tunasikia you're running for member of parliament and you're 21 years old. The political leadership in this country, they're very idealistic, they're very smart, they're very sharp, and they get into parliament.
People take loans. People do crazy stuff to get campaign money. Now, if somebody used up to 20 million to campaign 30 million and they get the seats, where will they get that 30 million to give it back? There's the capture of the legislature by their political parties. That is where the big problem is.
Ladies and gentlemen, classmates, welcome to another lecture, another class, another concert for businessmen and entrepreneurs and change makers, a name you're going to hear a lot on today's conversation. We're still filming at Longonot Place, so come check them out, book your staycation with them. Ni place moja amazing, waambie wakupatie discount za field director. I'm excited about today's conversation because I think right now in Kenya and the whole world, ukisema Gen Z, then you know you're talking to a very powerful group of people or individuals and a whole generation. And the lady that is on set with me today is just that. She's a powerhouse. I mean, she's only 24 years old, but her CV and what she's done and how many countries she's traveled to, I still dream of achieving that. But most importantly, I asked her, so how do you identify yourself? Because I've seen you talking about climate change, politics, fighting for the girl child. And she said, I am simply a change maker. And I think that is such a powerful name. And I'm excited for this conversation. Anita Soina niaje?
Niko poa sana. I'm so excited to be here.
Man, no, thank you for coming. And thank you for honoring our invite.
I appreciate it.
You've been doing some amazing. First of all, tuanze tu hapo hivyo kwa jina Soina. I love Maasai names. That is a beautiful name.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I'm just going to go right at it. Mm-hmm. At 24, what you've achieved, what you've done, it feels like you have a rocket attached to your back and you're just flying. What's driving you, or what are you running from? If that's the case.
I think for me, it's not being comfortable where I am and actually realizing that I have so much potential to become what I want, and I have so much potential to support so many activities and, you know, to be part of processes that can also uplift other people. And looking at the time that we have, you never know, like our time could be limited, but mine is always to make sure that there's impact in what I do. And so that is what keeps me moving.
Manze,
Yes.
wow. Let's go right from the beginning. And why you always like this from when you were a child? So where did you grow up? What was your family setup like? And where did you get the guts? I actually say the balls, because you have a big set, because what you do and the stages that you stand on. Was this something that was inculcated when you were at home in your family setup? How was that like?
Well, I can say a bit of it, yes, because from way back when I was young, I was that outgoing person. And of course, one of the things that also helps me to date is that I'm a social person.
Right.
So from way back since when I was a child, and at least being fearless, of course, to some limits.
Yeah.
And understanding that going for what I want, always asking when I feel like I need something. And growing up, I grew up in Bomet, born to a Maasai dad and a Kalenjin mom, but I had a chance to grow up with my grandfather, my late grandfather, who was then like my father figure. And he was a community leader. He was a chairman in a school. He supported education in various ways that he could. And so when I was young, being his favorite grandchild, I say that every day, and my cousins do know that. They don't take offense. I used to stay with him. He encouraged me to go to school. He never allowed me to see, he never allowed to see me home or, and he was one person who was interested in leadership and all that. And when he came home in the evening, we had to shut up so that he'd listen to radio and all those kind of things. And so I think that also influenced how I grew up. He used to take me to Bometown. That time, Bometown was like heaven, leaving the village to go to town. And he'd take me, buy newspapers, and I'd be carrying it for him. And when I was in school, I was so much interested. I'd read newspapers, and not just the back side or the middle side, but the front pages. I'd read stories. And I think just growing up, that's how I ended up being interested in issues, seeing him serve schools. He was a big champion, and he really fought for teachers, for example. And I remember he used to encourage, and he used to talk a lot about fighting for the rights of teachers. And in the process, one of his children, who happened to be also one of his favorite sons, because he was interested in politics, ended up representing teachers for a long time. So I think, to me, it goes back to that man. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's beautiful. At least you see where it started from.
Yeah.
So you grew up with that example. Your grandfather showing you always stand up for what is right, what you believe in. So climate change, that's how we came to know you. Ulipatana wapi na climate. For us, these are words we hear being mentioned in this big UN conversation, and it's thrown at us. And honestly, for the longest time, until a very recent experience, I had not paid much attention to climate change. It's something, yes, everyone was talking about. But I recently did a series where I went around the country, and now seeing what the effects climate change has on everyday individuals, everyday Kenyans. That was amazing. Mlipatana wapi na history ya climate?
So when I was in high school, I was a member of the scouting club.
Right.
Or they say once a scout, always a scout.
Yeah.
But then when I was in high school, I got a chance to serve as a chairperson for the scouting club. And at that time, we used to engage in different activities. We'd go to the nearby hospital and help them with cleaning. We'd do cleaning the school, the planting of trees, the basic things that, supporting the community within as a scout. And I think that really motivated me to love volunteering. And so when I completed school, when I was done with high school, that was in 2016, Matiang'i babies.
Right.
Yes, and I was at home. That was also during the campaigns, before the 2017 elections. And that time I was so interested in politics. I was online campaigning for different groups in different regions, different people that I'd never even met, but I was just campaigning for the ones I loved and the ones I liked, their political agendas. And in the process, I met someone, and the person was shocked because I was not eligible to vote. At that time, I was 17 in 2017. So it's like, why are you in this space? What exactly are you doing?
I know.
And I was like, I just want to be in spaces where I can learn things, and I also want to contribute to giving back to the society. I'd love to know where to volunteer. And that is when he asked me, have you heard of Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs? I was like, I've never heard of such a thing because, our curriculum does not teach us about that.
Right.
And so he introduced me to that. And the UN SDGs were the 17 of them. And I kept reading about them. You read SDG 1, for example, there's not poverty, there's zero hunger, there's food security, there's climate action. And so he told me, read, and when you understand, you find something that you like and then align to that, and then you can start reading and learning about it and work in that space as a change maker. And so I read about the SDGs, and that time I was now coming to campus.
Yeah.
So I I started an organization, and we were doing everything. We were interested in supporting the less fortunate, raising funds to do food and all that. We did environment, we planted trees, but then that is where I really loved the environmental activities. And so that's, I discovered then maybe this is passion that I've just discovered late, because out of all the things that I tried, that was what I loved the most. And so that is when I started a group. At that time, I was still, when I came to Nairobi, I started volunteering here and there. I was working in the gospel music industry.
Allah.
Yes.
Allah.
Yes, I was managing social media pages and
Okay.
all that. I was at EMB Records at some point. So, and then learning about digital spaces from artists. And so now that by the time I quit to fully focus on my work and climate work, I lost a lot of people on the way. There was a disconnect, even from online, my followers, and people don't understand. Today you were telling us about a certain artist and where they are performing. Tomorrow you want to teach us about trees and all that. And it's not an interesting topic for sure for most people. And so I just started environmental conservation, basically the tree growing part, attending cleanups. And I remember at some point my mom, my uncles used to tell my mom, your child, is she really studying? But I'm not, I don't want to say I'm not book smart, but I don't really like I wasn't good with school. I didn't like campus. I didn't like staying in class. So I'd try and balance. And my mom saw me doing a cleanup in Nairobi, and she didn't understand. She was like, did you go to Nairobi to pick trash?
Oh,
So I tried explaining it to her. But I did it anyway. That is one thing that I disobeyed everyone that felt I should have just stayed in class. And in the process, because of being consistent, talking about it, people just came to embrace me with that conversation. And now in the process, I came to learn that environmental conservation, there's a broader aspect of it, which is climate change. And when I was starting to understand climate change, it's a complex topic. Especially when experts are talking to you, they talk to you like you know all that. So I had to read, and I was like, so when a river is drying up, that's climate change. Things that are so close to us that we used to think climate change is in other countries or other continents, or maybe something that will catch up with us in 100 years, as it used to be put.
Right.
But then you start realizing that we have these issues that are coming. They are so close to us. And so as that person, as that change maker, how can I add my voice to it? And so that's when I started engaging in activities to do with that.
Okay.
Yes.
What you just said, you rightly put it, like climate change is not an interesting conversation. Like if someone starts talking about it.
Yeah.
But for me, it was, going through, let's say, to Kajiado, for example, and because of the adverse effects of drought. So a lot of the communities, or the people, they were losing a lot of their cattle. So the cows were dying. You're hungry, your family is hungry. And the result then of that is the man of the household would ideally, quote unquote, sell off the girls in the house. And because you're not doing this because you want to, you're doing this because the situation has forced you to do so. So you're finding that girls as young as 8 years old, 6 years old, being married off. And unfortunately, sometimes even in the Maasai community, FGM is still a practice. It's still there.
Sure.
So now, culturally, a girl needs to be cut first before she's married off. And so now you're having girls being cut at the age of 6, 8 years old. And I think that's the first time it really hit me. Like, it hit me hard. Like, we need to pay attention when we say, but we're always talking about the changes in the weather and climate. This is how it's affecting us directly.
Yeah. I think it's because most of the times we don't get this information. And I appreciate, because you're actually offering your platform to talk about these issues. Climate change, there's a nexus between climate change and almost everything. Climate change and our food security, climate change and education, like you've mentioned. There's one one girl that we rescued together with my team and friends in my Letisa. She was very, very young, and she got pregnant at less than 11 years. She's a child. She dropped out of school, and now because of the same climate change issues, after the drought, the cows are swept away. The parents want cows. So they're asking the girl who is the father of the child, because they want to forcefully take her to that family so they can have something. And it's not an easy process, because this is climate change induced challenges. So we had to start educating the parents, the mother first, finding that rigid father to understand why that cows or wealth. It's not really, because another drought will come or floods will come and it will still sweep that away. But that girl is out of, But now she's back to school. We took her back to school, and, she's doing well. And that's just one case. But these are things that are happening. Girls are being married off because of such issues.
Right.
Migration, there's forced migration, for example, which is also causing conflict. People are leaving their homes to look for pasture for their animals. Mothers are being left behind. Fathers are leaving. There is a disconnect even between families. Others leave and they never return. Things happen to them on the way. And it's interesting. People take their cows from Kajiado all the way to Narok when we have the droughts, maybe to look. Yeah, exactly. So it's not just climate change as it sounds. And I like that nowadays people have started to become interested with the conversation. But it's so sad that the reason is because of the effects. So we can no longer ignore the conversation because the effects are already here with us.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
What can the average me or you, an average Kenyan, what can they do to, I don't know, lessen the effects of climate change and hopefully change the trajectory?
Before I even say what we can do, it's so sad that even as a continent, for example, the African continent, we contribute less than 4% of the global emission. Less than 4%. You can imagine you as an individual. Not to say that it's insignificant, but to show that also there is so much that needs to be done, not just by a common person. As common people, we can do what we can, use our platforms to talk about these issues, to educate, to support communities, build resilience, to plant trees, to do the basic that we can do, to make sure that our environment is clean and all that. But the big problem is, even as we do that, are the countries that are contributing to climate change the most doing anything? So if they're not doing anything, then they're just... I'll give you an example. Kenya's electricity grid, 94% electric. Renewables.
Yeah, renewables.
Clean energy.
Yeah, geothermal and
Same case to so many countries in Africa, because our solar is rich, wind, all that. Maybe the infrastructure is maybe where we still need support. But then you realize that countries that are developed way before, using the same coal and oil, are telling us to stop our little coal and oil in Africa, or, in Kenya, in Uganda, and all that. And that's, so there is now the aspect of, and when I talk about climate change, I focus more on the justice bit of it, even more than the climate change itself. Then that's unjust.
Right.
So and that's why leadership comes on board. What are our leaders doing? For example, if the African leaders, either through the African Union or as the head of states, how are they making sure that other countries are actually doing what they're supposed to do?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So change maker. So 1 minute we know you with climate change. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Next thing, tunasikia you're running for member of parliament and you're 21 years old.
Yeah.
Effectively making you the youngest person in the history of this country to run for an elective post as a member of parliament. That's a crazy switch. Okay, from where we sit.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so this leadership thing, this leadership bug, it's in you. What was that experience like for you?
I think first, it's the motivation behind it. I knew that one day I'll run for office.
Okay.
But I never thought it was going to be that soon.
All right.
And I remember because, like I said, I grew up in Bomet. And because of some challenges here and there, I was not able to grow up in my dad's side and all that. And being with my mom and his people and all that, I came to, when I was learning about climate change, I came to realize that it affects my community more. Because no matter where I jump or where I go to, that's my community. I am a Maasai, whether I like it or not.
Yeah.
And so that is when I went back to working, and at least I focus most of my projects there because that's home, and charity begins at home. And in that process, you see how dire the situation is. It's so tough. It narrows down to local leadership as well. What are they doing to support communities in such issues? Are they trying to drill boreholes for them? Are they trying to do the things that they can from, what they are able to do to adapt to these changes? And so my first time, I traveled for an international conference. That is the Conference of Parties that happens every year. It was in the UK in 2021.
Right.
And we have these climate strikes where activists and civil societies come out in large numbers to talk about what they want, be it in education or wherever. And so I went to this strike, global strike. It was led by Greta. She's a Swedish climate activist.
Yeah. Greta Thunberg.
Yes. And people were so many. I remember at some point, I panicked. I was like, so this thing is this serious? I'm just 21. I'm also trying to learn things.
Yeah.
And people are carrying placards. But most of these placards were written, "Dear World Leaders." And that's when I realized, it hit me that if it's young people are doing a lot nowadays. Communities, they're not resistant. They're not resistant to change or to such support and all that.
Yeah.
So where is the gap? The leadership space.
Right.
And so when I came back home, I was just about to graduate, and they said you cannot vie for that position unless you graduate. So I had to wait until I graduate. And then the day that I graduated, the next day I made an announcement I made an announcement on my Instagram and my other social platforms. Okay. And then the next day, big media houses picked up the story. They were like, 21-year-old environmentalists set to vie. And the thing about politics, once you set your foot, you have to go till the end. Yeah. Because if you don't, it destroys your political career. People will say you are just, you are used, you are a project or something like that. So without a proper plan, finances and all that, I went in fully. And that's, I was like, I think it's time. I've tried to influence change from outside, but I think it's important that we try to influence change from within the corridors of power.
Right.
Yes.
The campaign period. Please paint a picture for us, because we know politics are crazy in this country. And now here you are, a very young 21-year-old lady. And I know politics is crazy. That campaign period, take us through that period.
Campaign period. So first, you need to catch up. People have been campaigning all along. You need to catch up.
Right.
2, you need to get to those WhatsApp groups, because initially I thought I'd just be, because I have to be active during the campaign period. And so I didn't think I would be there. So I didn't plan myself. Like I said, I didn't have a team. Campaign, you need a team, you need vehicles, you need security, you need all those things. At the time, I didn't even have a car. Wow. And I need to move around. And so, and the constituency where I vied is a cosmopolitan constituency. In fact, the Maasai are the minorities in Kajiado North constituency, because it's the one that covers Rongai, Ngong, Kiserian.
Right. Yes.
And so you're getting to groups and people are like, who is this? Because now it's trending, like, who's this young girl.
Yeah.
And so you're reading messages and people are like, so who is this? And how they are saying it, it's in a way that it's so discouraging.
Yeah.
But because I'm the resilience, I went deep in. So that time I'm trying to plan. I don't know where to start because I don't have a team. But one guy reached out to me, MC Toxic. We were together in multimedia, and he was like,
I like MC Toxic.
hii tunawai. I'm like, tunawai nini? I don't even have like any strategy. And he was like, tunawai, come to Chore. He came. He brought a photographer who's also a volunteer. His name is Staff Shots. He came in with a team and started helping me. He said, Sasa, niko na gari. Kuna gari. I don't know the name of that car, but nile gari liko na boot. You know the boot that, you know, that one. It's the old cars before Pro Box, you know, that were used for public
Corolla,
transport. That one. So he has that
DX,
car, and that his dad had given him, and he was like, sasa niko na hiyo gari, ilikuwa inanifanyia job ingine, lakini nitakupea hiyo.
Wow.
So at first I'm like, okay. Wow. But then before that, we had this one time. So I was a UDA candidate before. I am one person who really believed in UDA then. And I was a candidate. And so there's this time that the president is coming. The current president, who was now the deputy president, is coming to campaign. And party members, you have to accompany him. You have to go. It's for your own good. Yeah. They've never seen me in those. People don't know me. They're just seeing me online. So I went and I didn't have a car. And you know, that time you need a car to be able to be part of the convoy. So my friends who are also aspirants, and then they were very young. Two of them. One was vying for women rep Muranga, that is Becky, and Mike Sagana, who was also vying for MP in Kasarani. They were like, Mike had a car, a Benz that had a sunroof. But you know, for that kind of thing, people want big cars. So Mike is like, kesho tunakuja kukusupport. Tutakuja na gari yangu. So when politicians were on top of their big cars, I was also on top of a car. So I mean, I was like, it's fine. So we got to the first stop where we need to talk, and they say, you cannot talk because it's only MP candidate, MP aspirants kwenda juu ndio wanaongea. So nilikuwa hapo kwa stand, and there was this person who was really trying so hard kunikataza. Nikamwambia, nani anasimama MCA? Mimi sisimami MCA. So I'm trying to convince him that I'm not an MCA candidate so they can allow me. Because of time, they wanted me. And I fought for myself. And I remember that there's a time when Mohaji Chopev was going to stage and he was paving way for himself in the process. Kama uwezi kuniskuma. Na ukipanda hapo juu usiongele vijana juu umeniskuma. So when he came back, he was looking for me because I think he was like, who's this young person pushing hard? Akanipigania. Then I talked. So from then I talked in the several stages. And people were really clapping for me. You know, that wanashanga, like, who's this young girl? And from that day, I was like, I'm not turning back. The campaign process for young people and for women, it's not easy. Now you can imagine being both a youthful woman. There are so many things that come. Maybe step down. You need, especially political parties, big political parties. They do not believe that we can also run for elections and win. They believe that we should be nominated and be given positions. So you're told, step down, you'll get nominated, do this. You hear a lot of things. And then kuna kuuziwa uoga. The favorite candidate of the party has also done his own propaganda. And it has been said, amepewa. So at that time, so many people backed off. We were 7 candidates. They backed off. Tukabaki watatu, and then it was now a deadline for paying nomination fee, which was hefty, like 100 and something. And now you're like, Toxic, ulisema tutawai, where is 100K? How do you know? And so those are some of the things that we had to face. Security at some point, when now later on I decided, because if you were given a fair chance at the ballot to, you know, party primaries, I'd have stayed back because, you know, that trust even from the people themselves, like, just allow us, give us a fair platform to go in compete, whoever wins come. But that was not there, so I told myself I'm not. I gave myself a 2 weeks break. I wanted to quit at that time, but I came back and I said I'll run as an independent candidate, and that's when I came across now the Green Party, and I was like, this really even aligns with what I do.
Yeah.
And Dr. Isaac Kalua really invited. He was so excited, brought me on board. They supported me. The party, that was a very interesting party where every candidate was allowed to support a presidential candidate of their choice.
Oh, wow.
So we didn't have to stick to one. So we had candidates who supported different presidential. So along the way, not to say I gave up on myself, but I love being realistic. You look at the dynamics of politics.
Yeah, yeah.
There are big parties. You're in your own party. People used to say that's my party. We are kona chama yake. And you look at it and you're like, I don't think, like, not to be negative on myself, but even from the voting pattern of tribes, if it's tribes, we are minorities. If it's youths, a few will go and vote.
Yeah.
Few believe in you. Many will be paid and all that. So I came to terms with the fact that mbele si kuzuri.
Yeah.
But I had to stay to encourage other people. I had to stay to show what it looks like to be consistent and to be resilient even amidst challenges. One point when I now had a campaign car and it was branded, the first day we had people who wanted to attack us just at the petrol station in broad daylight. And you look at it and you get scared. You cannot campaign at night.
Yeah.
Your counterparts are campaigning at night because of security issues and all those kind of things. And we attended debates. I emerged the winner in all the debates.
Yeah.
But then that doesn't reflect on what people
ground,
want.
yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah. Since you had a bit of an experience with that side, running as an MP, so I'm sure you got to meet a couple or a lot of them who are currently MPs.
Yeah.
There's a question I'm always wondering. When you're campaigning, when we sit one-on-one with a lot of the political leadership in this country, they're very idealistic, they're very smart, they're very sharp. Then they get into parliament or they get into those offices. It's like, what changes? It's like they swallow a pill and all of a sudden they're not very smart. Would you have an insight on that? Like even just currently just looking at how our MPs vote and how our country is being run.
I think what really what affects that, even the service delivery and all the good things that they talk about. And for sure, I can tell you, having been in that space, you really mean that which you say. You look at things and you're like, this is something that I can change. Even with that office alone, without the CDF, the partnerships that you can bring and change your constituency, a lot. But what happens is the process. So look, campaigns are expensive. You go for meetings, voters want money.
Yeah.
You have 100 people in a ward in the morning. And let's say you're giving, even if it's 50 shillings, to say the least. How much is that?
Yeah.
You need 1,000 people. Tomorrow you need something else. And the others are giving 200 shillings. You're not giving anything. They will not vote for you. They'll vote for the ones that gave them 200 shillings. But I want you to look at it this way. People take loans. People do crazy stuff to get campaign money.
Yeah.
People get people that invest in that, in them. If they win, they will benefit. If they don't win, they will still have to give back the money. Now, if somebody used up to 20 million to campaign 30 million, and they get the seat, where will they get that 30 million to give it back? They will do all those things that they are doing so fast. The problem is the process and how it looks like. And it's us, the voters, who have also allowed it.
That's true. That's true.
Yes. And the second is the parties. I'll give an example. Senator Okiya Omtata is a senator but has his own party.
Yeah.
He has nobody that will give him rules. He will do what he feels is right. That's why for him, it is very easy for him to stand on what we feel is the right side.
Yeah.
There's the capture of the legislature by
Yeah.
their political
Parties, yes.
and so that's why you realize when opposition joins government, their members of parliament stop reasoning.
Yeah.
But before that, when even when people in government fight, because right now we see there's a fight in government, and there's team A, team B. You realize that those ones who were supporting, they were yes people to everything, they are now starting to sound reasonable.
Yeah.
Because they see this is not right, and because I'm not in there anyway, and we are not in that team anyway, I can voice it out.
Right.
So the capture part of the political parties, and I think it's a high time that we look at how we can be able to elect people that we can hold accountable, and see how, I don't know if there's something we need to change with political parties, but that is where the big problem is. Yeah.
Wow. But I love this youthful rage that Gen Zs have, and I'm hoping we can sustain it until 2027. Yeah. And hopefully we can start making changes. Yeah. And I'm also excited at how, as young people, currently you're now interested in politics, you're interested in climate change. Like, your generation is so amazing. Like, things that before we thought was just for the older generations. So you, like, what parts are you playing now, just to, as we gear up to 2027? First of all, are you going to run again? Do you think you will run again?
I think I will run again. I will run again. I don't think I will run again I will run in 2027. And reason being, based on my analysis and my observation, and also with the kind of political stand that I've taken, and all that, I don't think it will be favorable for myself in so many ways.
Okay.
And I don't think the political space at the moment and the political temperatures really accommodate young people. And depending, let's see how it goes. If people are going to be allowed to vote, if young people are going to get their IDs, if young people are going to get their, they're going to be registered as voters, those kind of things. There's so many factors. And the thing about politics is things change, and they change real quick. Today, it's something else. Tomorrow, it's totally different. So far, as I said right now, I won't. But if things change, why not?
Why not?
Yeah. And the movement, I can say, and I'm so proud of myself. I'll say this because as one of the people who even supported, I had so much hopes, and I'm still hopeful that at least as a country we're going to move to where we need to move. During the young people's protest, I had to make a statement, and I had to make my U-turn. Sometimes it's not an easy thing, especially when you associate with most of these people. You have friends that have become family, but then you have to take that bold step. According to how I feel, my opinion, I feel like this is not right. I could be in a position to put food in my own table and a few people. But what about millions of people who I promised myself to use my voice to speak for them? So,
right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and let's hope the momentum is going to
Right.
lakini uoga tumenunua, so I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. So you what you do is social impact, making change, so whether it's climate change or politics, and that is the space you exist in. And it's a hard balance, if you ask me, from where I sit. At the end of the day, like you said, you need to put food on the table. But what you do is viewed as social impact, but you still need to exist in that space. So basically make money from that space, that balance. Tell me, how do you sustain yourself within that ecosystem, and how do you find that balance that now you're not just talking about climate change so that you attract the dollars. There's actually impact, but at the same time, you need the money to sustain yourself.
I think what makes it easier for me is when I started, I didn't even think of opportunities that are in the space. I never thought, I was just doing it as something on the side. And so for me, that is what really made the passion even become stronger. And that's why for my work, there's impact on ground. I do a lot of activities on ground. I do a lot of collaborations with communities.
Right.
And sometimes because it's passion, you find yourself doing it, and I tell people it's my full-time job. It cannot be a part-time job. When I run a foundation, I run an NGO, all in that social impact space.
Right.
It means I have to put my time, my resources to it. So that is no longer part-time.
Yeah.
But then you realize the space is not that easy, because who's paying me? You know?
Yeah.
You're just doing it, but who's paying me? Now, I've never been to an office. I've never engaged in 8 to 5, unless maybe for a week or something, consultancy and maybe those kind of contracts. But then I had to find something for myself. When I was in the entertainment industry, we saw influencers make money, from digital platforms.
Right.
I moved to social impact space, and that's what I'm doing. So I identify as a digital SDGs and sustainability influencer.
Right.
I get paid by organizations to tell their stories of impact. I get paid by individuals, companies, to showcase what they do, to join campaigns and all that. And I think that is something that I had to create for myself. I had to think, what can I do? Because that is also motivation. When there's motivation, you can do much. So I had to find something for myself. And I think so far, it had to take me years, but at least I can say so far, it's something that at least can keep me going even for a year.
Wow.
Yeah. And to appreciate that organizations do pay young people to speak. I'm coming to an event to speak. I am bringing my expertise. I'm leaving my my work behind.
Yeah.
It's my time. It's everything. There are some that do at least appreciate for that.
Right.
Yes.
Wow. You mentioned your foundation.
Yeah.
Talk to us about your foundation and the different things that you do there.
So when I was when I was purely just a climate advocate, I tend to think that for water crisis, for example, to end, we need to solve climate change issues first, and so many other things. But then even during elections, you realize that campaigning on a green agenda is not in the priority of people, because it does not really resonate with them. And it can't solve their problems immediately. So I started the foundation to help me bring together young people, partners, and communities, to now start supporting the communities in ways that we can. And we focus on quality education, because again, in Kajiado, that's one big problem. We also have water, sanitation, and hygiene. And especially after I was nominated by United Nations hosted partnership, Sanitation and Water for All, to be their global youth champion, that really also motivated me to do a lot on hygiene, sanitation, in the rural areas. And we also support community groups, especially for women, to be able to produce food, and to be able to have alternative ways of getting their food, because of you can't now depend on kettle alone, and all those kind of things. But what we love to focus more at the foundation is capacity building for behavior change, because once we influence behavior change, we feel like that's sustainability. Actually, most people rush to go to such communities. They want to pick up a child, they want to take them to school, because we have this mentality that it's poor.
Yeah.
Just because the region is marginalized doesn't mean that everybody cannot afford. You realize most people can afford, but they don't take their children to school because it's culture. You'll go to other parts where people don't build toilets, not because they cannot afford, but because that's how they have been living. But when you train them and educate them, they could even be willing to do it for themselves. So we focus a lot on capacity building for behavior change.
Right. Well, But this also the same priorities that you campaigned on, but this still your targets as you are campaigning. But this your policies.
Yes,
Yeah.
because when I was campaigning, I campaigned on a green agenda of,
Yeah.
why we need um, a eco-conscious leader, a green politician and all that. But yes, because they are linked, water shortage, all those kind of things.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. We usually like to ask, well, first of all, before I even ask about the books if there are top three books that you'd recommend, what are your daily habits? You seem like you have a full life. Like you're constantly traveling, you're constantly talking, you're constantly researching and reading, and you're always on the ground working. How does your day look like? What time do you wake up? How do you structure your
Yeah.
day?
I think that's, if there's one thing I've always wanted to work on for a long time, is at least have a structured day. I'm one person who just wakes up and flow with the flow.
Okay.
Before I sleep, I check my schedule, I check
Right.
my calendar, what I have to do, and that's how I go per what is in my calendar. I don't sometimes I'm an early person, sometimes I'm not, depending on how I get home. So I don't really have that that
Right.
specific routine of the day. But I mean, apart from waking up and doing the basics, I don't have another one. And I don't like reading books.
Okay. It's okay. It's okay.
I don't like reading books, but Becoming is one of the books that's by Michelle.
Michelle.
Yeah, it's one of the books that I have at least tried to read. I love watching documentaries.
Okay.
And
That's good.
yes, I love watching documentaries and things that are based on real life. But I'm a visual person more
Okay.
than yes.
No, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm a
And
visual
I've
storyteller.
forced my friends when they come to my place. I'm like, today we are watching a documentary. And at some point, I used to make my organization team members, the leadership and other members would come to my house, and we'd have these days where we just watch environmental related documentaries or other things, play games, and yeah.
Oh, no, I am a visual storyteller. Please
Yeah.
continue supporting us and the work
Exactly,
that we do.
yeah, yeah.
That's really good. Do you have a mantra, a line that you keep telling yourself every day that keeps you going?
We have this it's a Swahili one, again, toxic. Hakuna rahisi na hakuna kutoroka. Actually, that's what we tell ourselves every day
Hakuna
in our
rahisi
group.
na hakuna kutoroka.
Hakuna rahisi na hakuna kutoroka, and that's what we've lived by. And actually, I have also adopted it much for myself. We have this clique of friends, the four of us, and that's what Toxic actually introduced that. MC Toxic Toxic introduced it, and we're like, hakuna rahisi hakuna kutoroka, which is basically there is no, we have to
Right.
just keep
Yeah.
going, no matter how hard it gets.
Yeah, kuna time kulikuwa na hiyo statement pia, unachoka alafu.
Nachoka alafu.
Yeah, so hakuna rahisi.
Hakuna kutoroka.
I love it.
Yes.
Hakuna rahisi, hakuna kutoroka. I hope it makes sense for you, and I hope you can pick it. Do you have a stranger than fiction story? Something that happened in your life, or you found yourself on a certain stage and ukiambia watu watasema hii ni story ya jaba, but it's actually true.
I don't think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I have.
You have one. Right. Anyway,
It could be at the back of my mind.
itakuja tu siku moja tu, ikikuja ile siku hii episode itaendaonea hapo kwa comments, you can say. You've traveled the world a lot. You've won numerous awards, and recently I saw you picked an award from iGod Media Awards, which you came with today.
Yes, it's
Why?
my new baby.
Why is this a big deal? Anita Soina, iGod Media Awards 2024 winner, influencer category. Yeah.
That's a big deal because first of all, among all the winners, I was the only non-journalist. And to me, that meant at least even in the social impact space, we're giving digital content creators. I can help. Okay. Digital content creators and influencers are also appreciated. This was the inaugural digital. The category it was the first time having the category. It was the inaugural one, and having won, and also as the youngest. And I mean, this is just a rubber stamp to that work that I do. And when you say you're an influencer, and it's not about showbiz, it's not easy. We don't get clients daily like people in the showbiz space. We don't do, but this. Yeah. So this is a rubber stamp to my work. And I remember when I was in school, I used to sing so that I can, we used to sing when we were cramming for social studies. But then now I'm within the leadership of IGAD, and this also gives opportunity, because then this means I'll be able to interact with their initiatives. I'll get opportunities because of that. And having engaged the AU, the UN before, and not IGAD, and because IGAD is big on peace and security. And now also I'm trying to also look at climate security as one of the things that I champion for. So, yeah.
Oh man, congratulations.
Thank you.
And keep trailblazing. Like I said at the beginning of this conversation, it feels like you have a rocket strapped on your back and you're unstoppable. Yeah. And I'm just curious, 30, 50 years from now, what's the legacy that you want people to say about Anita Soina?
I think I want to be one of those people who created paths and try to create paths for young people to believe in themselves and to believe that they also are able to become what they want, but most importantly, they are able to be the change that they want to see in the world. That's it, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, I feel that's a really, really good place to end it at. Be a change maker. I think it's one of the most powerful words it's a word you hear, but today, having this conversation, I think it's going to mean very different for me. And I think going into the new year, 2025, yeah, I think that's
2025 already.
Yeah, I know. Time flies as we go into.
We're getting old.
Wow.
Yeah, we are.
You 24-year-old talking about getting old. Sisi tutasema nini? Sisi wote.
Yes.
And yeah, I think for me, I want to start using that word, and I want it somewhere, and it's such a powerful word.
You are.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for that. And like I keep saying on this show, we keep learning even from very young people like yourself. And today, I've learned the importance of being a change maker. So let's leave it at that. We're still filming at Longonot Place. Amazing place. Come check it out. And you can follow Anita on her socials. Unaweza zisema tu.
Yeah.
On Instagram.
Instagram, Anita Soina. The same on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok.
Yes. Sawa sawa. Yeah. All right. Until next time. Thank you so much for tuning in.